It strikes me there's sort of two stories going on here. One is your earnings, which were impressive. I want to go through those, but also it's China, and we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about, apart from China, how you came out, because you were up across the board. Sales, margins, same-store sales across the board.
Yeah, David, we just had one of the most successful holiday quarters in the history of Starbucks. And you think about it at our scale, globally, we posted a 5% growth in same-store sales with 2% growth in customer traffic. We had a 6% growth in same-store sales in the U.S. with 3% growth in traffic and 3% comp growth in China. So all of that was fantastic. Our net new store count grew 6% and our channels business grew 5%. So overall, we had a 9% growth and we had a significant beat on earnings per share. So we're very, very pleased with how we performed in the quarter, and that momentum just continued from fiscal year 19 into Q1 of our fiscal year 20. And as you point out, now we're navigating a very dynamic situation in China.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in some detail. But first, talk about the United States. As I say, up in same-store sales, it really sort of drove you around the world. Some of that is product, with your nitro cold brew, your cold beverages. Can you keep that momentum going, and do you have other products in the hopper that will come along behind that?
Well, you're right, David. As you point out, we had 6% growth in same-store comparable in the U.S., and 5 points of that was driven by beverage and our beverage innovation. And much of that has been the way customers embrace our cold beverages, specifically cold brew, nitro cold brew. We introduced things like Irish cream cold brew, so the cold foam on top of the cold brew. And, even our iced espresso beverages. So it's our core platforms of coffee, espressos, hot and cold, that's really driving that. And there's really three key ingredients that we think are driving our comp growth globally. The first is the customer experience we create in our stores. And our customer connection scores are at an all-time high. And that's a tribute to our Starbucks partners who proudly wear the green apron. Our beverage innovation, that drove 5% of that 6% comp growth. That beverage innovation keeps coming. And it's about our digital customer relationships. We grew active rewards members by 16% this last quarter to a total of 18.9 million in the U.S. So we're, all three of those areas we focused on, we're seeing phenomenal reception from customers, and it's working. It's growing our business.
So, Kevin, let's turn to that really big problem that's come up, not just for Starbucks, but around the entire world. That's the coronavirus coming out of China. You've already said, as I understand it, you've closed about half of your stores. Give us a sense of the process. When you decide to close a store, is that coming, are the governments sort of advising you to do that? Is it because what you're seeing with the customers? How are you deciding that?
Well, as you point out, the coronavirus is something that everyone in the market is having to navigate. It's a very dynamic situation. It certainly is one that we've been focused on a couple priorities. First is to focus on the health and well-being of our Starbucks partners. And second, then, our relationship with local health officials and the government to help support them as they contain the virus. Now, if you think about it, through Chinese New Year's, we typically have a number of our stores closed anyways. These are stores oftentimes in office buildings where for Chinese New Year's there's nobody's working, so we close those stores anyway. Those stores have been closed. But then if you look at things like the Hubei province, where the city of Wuhan, where this originated, the entire province is really under a lot of restrictions. So all the stores in Hubei province are closed. And then we work, in occasions, landlords or governments might ask us to close certain stores. Perhaps they're stores near hospitals or universities or tourist locations. And so we're being very thoughtful about how we do that. We have closed more than half of our stores at this point, and it's day to day. We work very closely to ensure we're making thoughtful decisions. And for the stores that are open, we're ensuring the safety of our partners and customers. We have masks and sanitizers. But we also, our Starbucks Delivers in China is another vehicle that for the stores that are open are able to service customers. Now, this really is a temporary issue, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to do it. We're going to focus on this in a way that's true to our mission and values. And, and we'll navigate past this, and it'll be sort of a temporary issue as we think about the long-term growth opportunity in China. We remain optimistic.
I know you're monitoring this very closely, Kevin. Where are we today, and are you getting the information from the government, from the authorities that you need to make informed decisions?
Yeah, David, we've been in China now over 20 years, and so certainly we have very strong relationships with central government, with provincial government, and with local governments that we operate in, and we want to be a responsible partner to them as they work hard to contain this virus, and so we get regular updates and communications, and our team in China, led by Belinda Wong and Liu Tsoi, they are doing a fantastic job. We're in constant communications with them. And it's very dynamic. Day to day, we're making decisions. And, certainly the Chinese New Year was extended till February 2nd. And so there's another milestone. I think the government's encouraging people to work from home that first week. So then around February 10th, we expect, people to be more in office buildings. And so we're just going to continue to do what we believe is right for Starbucks in support of our partners in that market, and it's day to day.
Kevin, finally, spend a minute on sustainability. You've announced some pretty big plans for Starbucks. Give us your goals and timetables. How are you going to achieve them?
Well, David, we've been focused on sustainability, for this last decade in many different endeavors. We're the #1 builder of LEED certified stores. We've innovated on this next generation cup, eliminating plastic straws in our stores. But a year ago, we stepped back and took a look and said, we have been episodic in the actions we've taken around sustainability, and we felt it was time for us to step back and think about what could we do that would embrace a bold, multi-decade aspiration to become a resource-positive company, a company that gives more than we take from the planet. And so we did the full benchmark, the full audit on where we stood around carbon, water, and waste, and defined a set of 2030 targets that we have to basically reduce the carbon footprint we have by 50% over that by 2030, to reduce the absolute pounds of waste that we create by 50%, and to reduce the water consumed in our operations by 50%. And that's just for the next decade. But we really are focused on a multi-decade aspiration to become a resource-positive company. We've had world-class outside advisors. People like Bill McDonough have advised us. Paul Pullman has been a great advisor to me personally. And so we're on this journey, and we think this is a journey that our customers embrace. Over 30% of the world's population is Gen Z. They embrace this naturally. Our Starbucks partners, over 400,000 partners who proudly wear the green apron, they're embracing this, and we're going to invite others to join us as we take a positive step to become a resource-positive company and hopefully help influence others in this direction as well.